smashed. And we, in 3-4 days, we was up by Okinawa. Okinawa is about 300 miles from Japan. It was just about over there. All we had to do is pick up, I forget, were they 700 sick and wounded. They loaded them up. When they got them loaded, and we went over to the next island, Ayashima, and that's was just a small place, but that's where Ernie Pyle was killed. We were at Okinawa when they dropped it. We didn't even know what was going on. All the time I was in the service, we didn't know anything about the war. If you didn't, we never had no papers or nothing. Nobody ever said anything. We just went along and did what you were doing, and I said, we didn't even know there was a war on. We didn't know until we got back after we picked up them patients, they went to Aishima, and we come back to Manila. And we got off the boat there again, and then they had papers showing the bombing that they did. We had to go back and work in the hospital again. I was put on 2 different wards. Then the older fellas, they had enough time to get out, and they all left, and we were new, and we had to take over their jobs. So I got to be the ward master. When I took over, I had to go. We had a cart with all our different stuff on there. We had to go through the ward and do all the whatever was going on. I know different things. Guys had cellulitis, and even some had their toenails taken off. And I know we had a warden, and they had their toenail taken off, and then they wrapped them up with a dressing, and they put boric acid on there, and all we had was hot water bottles. They used that for a while. All guys had different things wrong. Like some had boils, and the big thing was hemorrhoids. They were doing 4 or 5 hemorrhoid operations every week. When we was in the Philippines, we went home with them girls a few times. There was girls that worked in the wards that took care of the dishes and stuff. And a couple of times we went home with them, and they always had a big bowl of rice and some chicken. I said, correct, that rice, that's what we had for dessert. That was our main dish. When I was them girls that worked in a hospital there, that one, her name was Herminia Coutura. And we just went home with them to see what kind of place they lived. And we had to walk, a block or so through the woods, and we got to the edge of the river, the Pasig River. Then you had to get in a little boat they called a banca. We got on that, went across the river, and got off in Pasig, and we had to walk another block over to their house. And their house was up on poles, about 6-foot poles, and they were made all of bamboo. And you go underneath the house, and you had to take your shoes off and put them on the rack and get on the ladder and climb up in the house. They did all their cooking in that little, it was big as a single car garage. And they had a place piled up, like, I don't know if it was stone or what, but they had a place where they could have a fire, and that's where they did all their cooking on there. Everybody was going home, and I wasn't going home. And so one day I went down to what they call Manila Base X. I went to check my record, and the guy says, "You only been here 2 months." I says, "Christ, I've been here 2 years." And I was going home on an ex-boat. Well, I had 2 years overseas, and they only had me down for 2 months. Just a regular tube ship. I know. Well, I didn't know anybody was on there. Peach Mouse, I don't know if you know. He was on there, and I know he couldn't come below the deck. He was sick out all the whole trip. We went straight through at Camp Stoneman, and we got on the train there, and we came to Camp McCoy, and we got our records straightened out and got our pay, what we was going to get, and then throwed away all the clothes and stuff you didn't want. Got on a train and came to Chicago Northwestern Depot there. I had to walk home, and I know I had to walk past St. Pat's Church there. At that time we lived on First Street. I can't remember anybody no, I know I went to the neighbor's house and I was going to see Grandma, but they had all passed away. I got a letter. Dolores has got that letter in my picture album. Well, we were in Birmingham at that time, and I got the letter from my sister. She wrote in there what happened.